This is Lagers and Loudmouths, Conversations Unfiltered.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 12 of Lagers and
12 already.
Yeah,
huh?
12 already, man.
Man.
We are just chipping along here.
We are.
My name is Ty. I'm sitting here with my co-host Cam, and we actually have a very special beer we're drinking today. Go ahead and introduce what we got going on right now.
Yeah, so this beer is from Gatlinburg Brewing Company. If you don't know Gatlinburg Brewing Company, they are out of Gatlinburg, hence the name. They also have a location in Sevierville, which is my preferred location just because I don't have to drive into Gatlinburg. This beer is called Stash Catcher. It is a Weiss beer. You got to say it like you're angry when you're drinking a German beer.
German.
It's a Weiss beer. So yeah, they call it the Stash Catcher. On Untapped, it's got a 3.58, so it's a solid rating for a beer. You've cracked it. You've tasted it. What are you thinking?
Well, I'm a little partial to Weiss beers. I freaking love it. This is probably one of my favorite beers we've had on the show so far. You get a lot of that yeasty characteristic from...
Tastes like a bread.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I do like that. That's good.
Yeah, no, I love the Weiss beers. Like I said, you get that yeasty characteristic that a lot of those German-style beers have. So I'm a huge fan. I wish they would keep this on all year long. Like you said, I think it's a collaboration that they did, but hopefully that they got that recipe stashed away somewhere and they bust that out again sometime, because I'd buy it every single time I went over there.
And it is a special collab brewed with Stash discs.
Yeah, so it's on the front of the can, you got the Gatlinburg Brewing Company beer logo, but then you got the disc golf basket with...
That's right. I think Phil told us about this, that they have a disc golf team that they kind of work with.
Yeah, they did some kind of collaboration, I guess, with a tournament or something that was coming through, or
that makes sense.
some
Okay.
pro-level stuff. And yeah, they did this collaboration beer, and then they also did some collaboration discs where they made a special run of discs, and they have a cool Gatlinburg Brewing Company logo on the front. I'd love to get my hands on one of those. Maybe we can snag one when we're there on April the 24th.
April 24th, guys. So if you are local to our area and you have nothing to do on April 24th, it's a Wednesday. You don't have anything to do. I can tell you that right now. Come out to Gatlinburg Brewing in the Sevierville location, not the Gatlinburg location, because they are having their annual homebrew competition. This is their popular competition. They host two every year. They have a popular competition where they have bring in a bunch of people, and they basically just kind of whatever beer they like the best that night. And then they also, in the fall, they host a pro-am where they actually bring in legit judges to judge based off of beer style. I prefer this competition because I'm not like a perfectionist when it comes to brewing beer. Tyler and I both brew, so we will be there. We were both entered a few beers, one individually each and one as a collab.
Yeah, and fun fact, Cam is the actual reigning champion of this from last year. So
I'm hoping I can keep my title. The only reason I want the title, just to be honest with you, is because it comes with like a WWE style belt, and I don't want to give that up.
It is really cool. It's a cool little trophy. They give you the belt to hold on to all year so you can walk around and brag about it and all sorts of cool stuff like that. But it's always a good time.
It is.
The people at Gatlinburg Brewing are awesome people. We've brewed with them multiple times. Their whole staff's super friendly. They make phenomenal beer. So if you don't got anything going on the 24th of April, it's at 6 p.m., as Cam said, at the Gatlinburg Brewing Company Sevierville location.
Look for Tyler and I. We'll be there probably eating pizza and drinking beers. We'll get there probably like 5 o'clock, so we'll be there all day. Come out and see us.
Hell yeah.
All right, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so serious topic of the day. I think this is going to be an interesting one. Should prostitution be legal and regulated, and why or why not?
All right, give me your first answer off the top of your head, no debate.
Yes.
Okay, same. I'm right there with you. And to be perfectly honest with you, usually coming into these questions, I kind of have a clear cut, this is how I'm thinking. With this one, I'd probably honestly have done more research for this one than I have any of the other ones, because I don't want to put people in a position that makes them feel uncomfortable. And for this, it could potentially make people feel uncomfortable. Not in the sense of the debate. I don't care about that. Debating is all about being uncomfortable. But in terms of a life choice.
You're talking about like the life choices of the workers?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So, and I mean, and ultimately that's kind of what brought me to the yes answer, is that it is a choice, just like any other choice in life. And if they so choose to make that choice, who am I to say no?
Sure. So kind of diving a little bit deeper into my thoughts on this. I think it should be I think it should be legal and regulated, yes. But I kind of think it should be treated like any other kind of
Service.
taboo. Well, yes, service, but taboo topic: alcohol, cigarettes, blah blah blah. It's like, okay, I'm very much a free will kind of person. If somebody chooses to want to be in this profession, or if somebody chooses to want to solicit the services from these professionals, I think we live in a country where you're allowed to make those choices, right, wrong, or indifferent.
Yeah, agreed. And just full disclaimer right from the get-go, we do not advocate for sex trafficking or anything of that nature.
Not at all.
But so just get that out there. We are advocating, not even advocating, we are saying we are in favor of women who choose to make this profession, they can do so.
Or yes, exactly. Two consenting adults in a business transaction, providing, receiving a service for compensation. That is, I think, strictly what we are talking about.
Correct. Exactly. The way I kind of think of it is as sex work is you're using your body to provide a service. How is that different than the guy who goes to the factory and works a 9 to 5? He is using his body to maybe build you a Toyota or whatever he's doing at the factory. How is that different?
Sure. I think there's a little bit of difference. I think there's a public health concern, obviously, with sexual transmitted diseases and things of that nature.
And hence the reason we're big on regulating it.
Yeah. And I mean, same with alcohol. You buy a bottle of alcohol. What's it say? It says a Surgeon's General warning. This is bad for you. Pregnant women should not consume alcohol as it, increases the risk of birth defects and other complications. So I think it can really be treated the same way as that, as long as, the information is available to people to evaluate a risk based off of a certain, what word am I looking for? Like a occurrence in front of them. That's not the right word, but what's in front of them. Like they understand the risks, and it's two consenting adults, and you're trading, monetary value for a service. I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with that.
No, I agree. And at the end of the day, it often is referred to as the world's oldest profession. It's not new, guys.
And I actually thought about this a little bit. It's really weird because, okay, two consenting adults can go out on a date. They can eat dinner. They can have wine, whatever. Then go back home and, perform whatever kind of physical actions that they want to.
How is that any different? I mean, I guess it's not because you're not perhaps not paying for the service, but
that's really the only difference. If it's two consensual adults and no money is being exchanged, then it's totally fine. But if you are transferring funds for that service, now it's illegal.
Yeah, that is kind of shitty. Because at the end, there's a very, very, very small spot in Nevada, of course, a few counties in Nevada where it actually is legal in the United States. Otherwise, from a federal standpoint, there actually is no federal regulations on it. The federal government has basically said that, hey, this is up to the states to make their decision on this particular topic.
And we always like to define what we're talking about.
Yeah, let's define it.
Yeah, so dictionary.com defines prostitution as the practice or occupation of engaging in sexual activity with somebody for payment. Now, I brought that definition up specifically to say, what is the difference between that definition and somebody going to a strip club?
Nothing.
I would argue that definition could be, construed as, applicable to a strip club. So that's somebody who is going to an establishment and paying an individual for a service as well. So where's the line being crossed? At what point does it become illegal?
That's a good question.
You know what I mean?
I mean, you can go to a strip club. You can, I don't know what the allowables are at a strip club. Can you go full on sex at a strip club? I genuinely don't know.
Legally, I don't think so, but kind of look.
You can do pretty much everything else.
Kind of look between the lines. It's like, okay, sexual activity that can be construed in a lot of ways. Go to a strip club. There's going to be, at least, the performer touching you in some way. That can be, defined as sexual activity, depending on what your personal definition is. You're paying them money for that. Why? So I guess I'm unclear on, with this definition, where's the line drawn?
Yeah, why can you do it in a strip club establishment and you can't do it? You can't have your own website set up to escort yourself.
Sure.
So yeah, no, I don't disagree. It's seems like there's a double standard there, some way, shape, or form.
And I mean, obviously, there's a clear market for it.
Oh, of course. Let me tell you a little bit about the clear market for it. So if you've ever heard of the book Super Freakonomics, came out, I don't know, probably 15, 20 years ago at this point. I read it a long time ago. Maybe it was late 2010s-ish. But there was one of the big stories from that book, and kind of one of the ones that probably drummed up the most attention was this story about a prostitute. Well, she didn't go by a prostitute. She went by an escort because she provided a service, and she was a high-end escort, I think, in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. And her name was Allie, and she just talked about how she was able to, it was perfect for her lifestyle. And she was a programmer, so this was a person who had a college degree, was making decent money. It's not like she chose this out of requirement for paying the bills or something like that. She chose this life because she wanted to, it fit her desires. It fit her person as herself. She wanted to kind of explore herself sexually, and it allowed her to do what she wanted to do while making a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, and she talks in. I think she was a pretty high end escort, $400 or $500 for an hour in Chicago. You can get away with that in a bigger city like Chicago, but she was making some good money. I think she made over $200,000 a year at certain points in her career, working a few hours a night.
And the thing is, too, I want to kind of bring this up. I think there is a difference between, how do I want to say this? So you use the term escort instead of prostitute. So there's escorts all over the place, you know.
Of course.
That's totally legal. Where the line gets crossed is when you're paying money for sex, obviously. But as an escort, I mean, there's a lot of instances where people just hire escorts because they're lonely and they want somebody to talk to. So
she talks about that. I found an interview with her, and she actually discusses that. She said it's not super common. Like most time when people are calling on her, it is for sex. But she said that 10% of the time it would just be people who wanted to chat and needed somebody to go on a date with them or something like that. Maybe go to an event or kind of be arm candy for an event.
Right. And I think you see that a lot with kind of like celebrities and rock stars too, to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, okay, you're hiring an escort to go on a date with you, quote unquote, and you know, can you guys kiss? Is that considered prostitution?
I guess that would be, you'd have to define the contract ahead of time. Yeah,
Sure.
that's the question, is when does it go from being an escort to prostitution? I guess is the real question. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Is the act of sex, is that when you turn into a prostitute versus an escort?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I think I think it's more of a gray area in regards to when you're talking about, okay, am I doing something illegal or not? I mean, if you have sex for money, that is illegal technically. But I think there is a lot more nuance to it than a lot of people kind of see on the surface.
How so?
Well, kind of like I said before, it's like with the strip club example. It's like, okay, based on the definition, you know, that could be construed as prostitution based off of what I just read.
Yeah.
So why is that okay, but this isn't okay? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is it because there's, it's kind of maybe one of the concepts we always fall back on. There's a higher dollar sign there, so somebody else is getting paid for it. The establishment itself is making money. Almost, I don't want to use this word, but this word is appropriate. Maybe pimping them out.
Sure. Interestingly enough, though, it's like if you're, and we're not talking about, you know, we're talking about people who voluntarily want to go into this profession,
100%.
Not necessarily somebody who is, you know, looking to
down on their luck, and they need
Exactly.
to pay the electric bill.
We're not talking,
of course not.
And this is going to sound crude, but it gets my point across. We're not talking about like a street prostitute in, you know, a really bad part of town.
No.
So, I mean, at that point, they're kind of independent contractors. It's not like Uncle Sam's not going to get paid. I mean, I think if you're going to do it and they legalize it, you have to do it right. I mean,
that was one of the, in the Q&A with Allie from the Super Freakonomics, that was one of the things that somebody asked her, is like, they legit just said, hey, do you pay your taxes? And she's like, yeah, of course. She's like anybody else. I put aside money, pay my taxes, claim what I'm supposed to claim.
I mean, you're an independent contractor, set up an LLC. You know, it's all trackable, and you pay your taxes just like everybody else.
All right, so I wanted to, again, going back to Allie, just because, I mean, she's the best example I could find of this, and somebody who was really openly willing to talk about it. But I just really, when I was reading through her Q&A earlier today, this kind of quote or answer that she gave really stuck out to me. So the question was from a guy named Steve. He says, what is your opinion of the profession, ignoring the social and legal ramifications? If prostitution were legal and not socially stigmatized, how would you feel about your child being in the profession? Again, we're not going to get into the child part just because I don't want to. But this first line that in her answer to it, she says, I think that being an escort might be like being a therapist. She says she's never been a therapist, so her knowledge is limited. But like most escorts, a therapist is essentially selling his or her skills by the hour. A therapist meets people and they help them work through something. In this case, the working through, this just happens to be sexual.
Sure. And I mean, I read the article as well. And I mean, she set it up. She seemed like she set it up very well, where she
had a website.
She had best practices. She had a website. She had reviews. She had consultations with these potential clients prior to accepting a quote unquote contract, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
she had stops in place to stop herself from like getting hurt or not paid. She had like things that they would have to do before she would even agree to meet them.
Sure. So, I mean, in my opinion, this scenario specifically just looks like any other independent contractor that is providing some kind of service to their client. This just happens to be sexual in the majority of cases.
Why do you think it's got such a bad stigma? Is it religion?
I don't know if it's religion.
I think it's religion.
It could be. I don't. When you use the term prostitute, I don't think it has a positive connotation to the majority of people when they hear that. I think
that's because we've put it that way.
Sure, but what do you think of? Like, I say prostitute. What pops into your head?
I mean, yeah, I guess the immediate thing that pops into my head is that somebody's standing on a street corner trying to make a few bucks so they can get their next hit of crack, cocaine,
sure.
something like that.
And
I mean, maybe that's not right, but that is immediately what pops into my head, and maybe that's because we've been trained to think that way.
And I would say the overwhelming majority of people probably have that
similar thought,
myself included.
And that's why I like to use the word escort, because Allie calls herself an escort, which in her book she does very clearly have sex. So in her mind, an escort is somebody who does have sex, even though maybe the term escort doesn't denote having sex.
Sure.
To me, it seems like it's a little, I don't know. If I put the two words side by side and think about them, prostitute, I think somebody's standing on a street corner trying to get their next hit. Escort, I think of a well-dressed, and maybe this is a Pretty Woman speaking to me. Richard Gere back in the day. But you think of that when you think of an escort, or at least I do.
Yeah, and I tend to agree. One other thing I want to kind of bring up, it kind of goes along the same lines as the strip club, but it's like, okay, a strip club, you actually go to a physical establishment where, that is the business. I mean, you can hire independent strippers to come to your house for, whatever reason, bachelor parties, whatever. It's like, that's like that's even 1 degree closer to what we're talking about than an actual strip club, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's really weird where the lines cross from, okay to not okay.
All right. So opinion. do you have any potential, again, we always like to pro con it. Do you have any potential cons to this?
Yeah, sure. I think that it can definitely be dangerous, both
certainly,
both physically and biologically. Like I said, I think, what was her name? Allie?
Allie.
I think Allie, in that example, set up her business model very well. I think she used best practices, but I don't know if everybody would have that foresight. So I think there is a risk of, physical bodily harm to a degree. And then also, if we're talking about sex, sexually transmitted diseases are a real thing. And that has a health implication on not only the two individuals that are there at that certain point in time, but if there is a disease that is transmitted, then you could, spread that to other people as well.
Yep. And full disclosure, we're talking about this primarily from a woman's perspective, because that does make up the vast majority of this industry, I would say. But there are men in this industry.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I thought about this as well. Why do you think that it's primarily women in sex work?
Ooh. Why? All right, I'm just going to give you
the
first thought that popped into my head.
Don't fucking sugarcoat it, man.
The first thought that popped into my head is men are just a bunch of fucking horn dogs.
Yeah, exactly. So
women, I think there are many women who are very sexually just out there and fine and free, and that's great. But I think it's just more common in men, maybe.
So I want to take what you said and put it a little more eloquently, because I think we're thinking the same thing. So from just I'm just some guy, I don't know shit about anything, but from my perspective on the world, it seems like men.
Did you ever watch Ozark?
A little bit.
I remember.
I haven't gotten through the whole thing.
There was this one, you just reminded me of it. Sorry, side note, but this girl says, I don't know shit about fuck.
I'm going to use that. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, back to my point though. I think men are biologically more physical creatures, and women are, I'm not going to say women aren't physical creatures, but I think they're more emotional creatures in comparison to men.
I would agree with that 100%. And I've been married for going on 17, 16 years now. And I would 100% agree with that.
Right.
Just even my personal experience.
And that goes back to my point before. Okay, women understand this. I mean, whether they want to or not, women get hit on all the time unsolicited for all sorts of bullshit reasons. But why not let them, I'm going to say this very poorly, but it makes sense. Why not let people who want to exploit that, quote unquote, and exploit might not be a bad word.
Exploit's a terrible word. Yeah, I know what you're saying, because exploiting means taking advantage of in my mind.
No. That's not what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, but that's not the right
advantage.
word.
Why not take advantage of a market opportunity and make money?
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what I mean.
Yep. Yeah, and agreed. I agree. If there's a service, you can provide it, and you can make a lot of money providing it. Why not?
And like I said,
would you ever be a prostitute as a male?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? What would be your hang up? Obviously, barring you're not married, you're in an area that's conducive to it.
I don't know. Is
it a moral thing for you?
No.
Sanitary?
No, it's not a moral thing. I mean, I don't know if I could, but theoretically, you could make a shitload of money. And
let's just say you look like Mark Wahlberg. You're looking great. Your physique is you're busting out of your shirts.
If I was going to go into that, I think I would try to go more towards like the OnlyFans kind of thing,
gotcha.
Online, stuff like that. I don't know if I'd be interested in trying to, physically meet up with somebody.
All right, I don't want to have to be the one to tell you this, but I'm going to have to tell you this. Please don't start an OnlyFans. Nobody wants to see that.
There's got to be at least one person.
You're married to her. She already sees it. That's it.
I wasn't expecting you to say that, but that was really fucking good. I respect that.
All right. Yeah. All right. So prostitution, I think we're both pretty well in favor of. Again, barring that it is 100% between two consensual adults. Contracts have been laid out. Everybody is upfront with what is expected from both parties.
Yeah, 100%. Anything beyond that is immoral.
Anything beyond that is rape.
Yes.
Yeah. Which obviously is immoral,
or
certainly.
Sex trafficking,
yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
And yeah, we again, do not advocate for that in any way, shape, or form.
That's a completely different discussion.
Yep, not one that I want to have. I'm not smart enough to have that discussion.
Well, I think we covered this one pretty well.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, or do you want to move on to our fun topic?
No, I mean, like I said, I'm curious to hear what others think on this one, especially this one, because like I said, I was torn on this when I first came at it. I was like, no. And then I kind of started doing research, and there's actually lots of organizations out there. Human Rights Watch. So what do you think Human Rights Watch would say about this? They're a big national organization.
I would say Human Rights Watch, just not knowing jack shit about
just based on
anything.
What you know about that.
I'd say they probably are not in favor of it.
They 100% are.
Interesting.
They think that it should not be criminalized and that people should be allowed to do it. And that's kind of what kind of started swaying me once I started reading. I was like, I mean, obviously there are people against it. A lot of those people that are against it, and I think this is why I came back to religion, tend to be coming from those religious backgrounds. Fun fact, prostitution is actually in the Bible multiple times.
100%.
So,
for me, it's a free will thing. I'm very much
agreed.
Let people do what they want to do, regardless of what my personal opinion is.
Yep. That's it. I mean, I can do whatever I want to my body. You can do whatever you want to your body. That's the way I kind of see it.
Sure.
As long as, and again, two consenting adults. All right, yes, please share your thoughts with us. I want to hear what people think about
You know,
this.
if we were any kind of large platform podcast, we would totally get, crucified for this. Like Cam and Ty advocate for prostitution.
Listen, CNN, call me up. We will have a one-on-one right now. I will argue my point. I'm a pretty good arguer, so call me up, CNN, NPR, any of you. I'll talk.
All right, enough of prostitution.
Yeah.
Kick us off with our fun topic.
All
Cam.
right, so our fun topic, we're Lagers and Loudmouths, and we haven't really talked beer that much in 12 episodes. Yes, we introduce a beer every episode and talk about it, but as Lagers and Loudmouths, I felt like when I was prepping for this week, I wanted to talk about beer. We got the beer competition coming up. You work at the brewery. I love brewing. I love drinking beer. So let's talk about beer. So the fun question is, we'll obviously have some offshoots here, but what is your favorite beer style and why?
This is a harder question for me than the prostitution topic because I don't have any kids, but I feel like you're asking me to choose what's my favorite kid.
See, I have an immediate answer.
Okay, give me two. Good. What is it?
All right, so I like lots of different beers. Honestly, I don't. There's not any one style that I genuinely hate. There's a few that I like less, but if I have to think about the one style that I look forward to every single year, it's a Marzen. Oktoberfest style beer.
Yep.
I don't know what it is. I think it's just because it's got a little bit of sweetness, but it's not too sweet. It's got a good amber color, but it's not too amber, not too light, not too dark.
That answer doesn't surprise me, but do you think is it truly the beer that you love, or does it go a little bit deeper and like, okay, that's kind of a nice time of year. The weather's not too cold. It's not
Perhaps,
too hot.
But
You're outside.
Is that not part of beer drinking?
Sure, of course. But I'm saying it's not just necessarily the beer. It could be the nostalgic effect that you feel when you drink it.
Could be. In full disclaimer, I was born in Germany, so perhaps. But yeah, so let's just, Marzen. Marzen is a kind of traditional lager style. It actually translates to March in German, because that's when you brew it. Traditionally, you brew it in March, and then it usually comes ready about the end of August, beginning of September-ish time. It's a kind of full-bodied, rich, multi-flavor profile, clean, crisp finish. It's often got some kind of bready, caramely notes to it, a little bit of toffee and nuttiness, and that just sounds delicious.
Sure. I can get on board with that. I love
like
a good Marzen.
I like all beers, and we'll talk about others, but if I had to pick, if you're telling me that you can only drink one beer the rest of your life, one style, I think that's what it would be.
Okay. I'm going to kind of parrot you a little bit, not by style, but by region.
Okay.
I'm going to go with a Hefeweizen.
You do love Hefes.
I love Hefes.
This Weiss beer we're drinking is great.
This Weiss beer is, it's not a Hefeweizen, but it is, a very close cousin of it.
Beer, yeah.
So Hefeweizen translates from German to yeast wheat.
Yeast wheat.
So a wheat beer that's yeasty.
How much do you love bread? Just like carbs.
I love carbs.
See, maybe there's something there.
But I love a very good brewed Hefeweizen. There's a couple different ways you could do it, and I'm not going to jump all down the nerd bandwagon on beer. But I mean,
well, jump down the nerd bandwagon. Yeah. That's what we're here for.
So the Hefeweizens are interesting because it's really all about the yeast. The grain bill is very simple. It's probably the percentages vary, but it's anywhere between 40 to 60% wheat. So it's a wheat based beer. I know.
Sorry, no, keep going.
But I love Hefeweizens because you can manipulate them in fermentation to a specific flavor profile.
Now, you've brewed a couple of these, yeah?
I have, yes. And it's honestly one of my favorite beers to brew. So for those of you who don't know, a Hefeweizen is typically a balance between a clove flavor and a banana flavor. So you can kind of shoot right down the middle, have a really balanced Hefeweizen where you get slight notes of clove, slight notes of banana, both in aroma and taste. Or you can try to skew it one way or the other with a clove-heavy Hefeweizen, or my personal favorite, a banana-heavy Hefeweizen.
So you want a banana split when you're drinking it?
Yeah, I like banana bombs, but they have to be done well.
All right. Do you have a favorite?
A favorite Hefeweizen?
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, the best Hefeweizen I've had a bunch of very good ones. A lot of them straight from Germany, so I'm not taking anything away from them. but there was a brewery, I believe it was in Aurora, Illinois, not too far from my hometown, called Two Brothers Brewery. And they had a Hefeweizen on tap, and it was straight banana, and it was phenomenal.
You remember the name of it?
I can't remember. I'd have to look it up. Let me
look it up while we're looking here.
Yeah, let me take a look real quick.
All right. So obviously we're talking about beer, so let's talk a little bit. Let's just kind of expand out the beer talk a little bit. What do you have a preferred vessel? Do you like drinking out of cans, bottles, glassware?
It depends.
Yeah.
So
is it situational?
It kind of is. If you're talking about packaged beer, I prefer cans.
So you're talking about like your big domestics, things like that, or just any sort of packaged beer?
I'm talking about any kind of packaged beer, and it's coming from kind of the.
Gotcha. So you're saying cans versus bottles right now. We're not getting into the draft.
Well, I'd prefer
So if you're buying it from the grocery store.
Oh, okay. I'm pretty indifferent with that.
No big choice.
I don't really have a choice between cans or bottles. If you're talking about like American light lagers, I don't give a shit. Just give me whatever's available and whatever's free.
Yeah.
When you're getting into the craft beer scene, especially when you're getting into the expensive craft beers, if I have the choice and I'm purchasing it from a store, I want to go cans because the aluminum blocks all the light. Whereas the amber bottles do an okay job at trying to protect it, but some light still gets in and it can react to the hop oils and kind of change the flavor of the beer in the bottle.
That's fair.
So I think packaged cans keep the true quality of the beer more intact than bottles, and it's situational, but that's my right, wrong, or indifferent. That's kind of my overall.
No, I like that, and I would tend to agree. I think I'm a can drinker. I like cans. One, they're just easier to drink. Two, you can get a shit ton of cool koozies that go on the can, so that makes it fun. Three, they're great for the boat. So yeah, cans I think are the better. Obviously, if I'm at the brewery itself and I get the choice, I want it off draft.
Yeah,
I feel like a draft beer is going to be better. You're going to get the better head, which is going to give you the smell factor, which does play a factor in your taste.
Oh, aroma and taste are linked.
I won't get into the A&P of that, but yeah, you do. You actually taste a lot with your sniffer. So,
and when I answered the package question, my immediate thought was growlers. So
okay,
I kind of have a love-hate relationship with growlers. They're great if you're going into a brewery and you're immediately going somewhere else. Like if we're going to 1907 to go on the lake, we're going to have a beer at 1907. We're going to grab a growler. We're going to go on the lake. And 3 hours later, that growler's gone.
Yep.
No problem.
But it's not going to keep for long.
No, not in my opinion.
No, I agree. You got about 2 days at best out of a growler, I think, before it starts going downhill.
I think your beer deteriorates very quickly in a growler, especially if you don't hit it with carbon dioxide prior to actually pouring the beer into the growler.
The O2 gets in there.
Yeah. There are a lot of breweries that do the cans and the growlers where they actually can it right in front of you off draft. I like that idea because they typically hit that can with CO2, they fill it, and then they immediately seam it.
I like growlers. Growlers are nice because, one, I know I don't have to drink it within like 2 days. I'm good for a couple of weeks.
The shelf life is it's extended for sure.
Yeah, I had a growler that I'd forgotten about in my beer fridge that was probably 6 weeks old. Cracked it a month or so ago. Still solid. Yeah. Board grade, good carbonation. All right, so what were you telling us about with Heffies before I interrupted you? You were looking up something.
Oh, I was looking up Two Brothers Brewing Hefeweizen.
Oh, is that who it was? Two Brothers?
Ebelsweiss? Ebels. Ebelsweiss?
That sounds like Ebelsweiss, and it's Two Brothers out of Aurora, Illinois, yeah?
Yeah, wheat beer, Hefeweizen. Let me see if I can click on. I believe it is in Aurora, if I'm not mistaken. Warrenville, Illinois. Okay.
Warrenville.
So I those are probably pretty close together if I remember correctly. But I will say, when I had that Hefeweizen at Two Brothers Tap Room, it was off draft and it was amazing. And I went to the store and I bought cans. As good. It wasn't as banana-y.
Yeah. And again, I think you do lose something when you can. Always drink on draft if you have the option. All right, let's throw in another beer question. Session versus high ABV.
Oh, it's an easy one for me.
Tell the people what it is, though.
So A session is typically a lower ABV style
Usually
of beer.
5% or lower.
Yeah, you could pretty much make any beer a session technically, and it's really between 3 and 4.5%. At least in my opinion, that's where I think a session kind of lies.
Yep.
And then imperial is considered high gravity, so a lot more alcohol. And at least in Tennessee, high gravity is considered anything over 8% ABV or higher.
I did not know that. 8%.
That's the distinguishing factor here, at least.
Okay.
If I have the choice, I typically go to session over imperial. I've had a lot of great imperial beer, and I continue to drink them.
Yep. We brewed one.
Yeah,
that we're entering into competition.
That we are. Yes, we are. So I have nothing against imperials, but they tend to be a bit more intense, both in the alcohol content and the flavor profile. And it's cool to do every once in a while, but it's not a daily drinker in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I would probably fall right in line too. When I drink beer, I want to. My goal isn't to get shit faced and be falling off my feet after 3 beers. I want to kind of sip a beer all day, sit on my back porch, listen to some music, sit on the boat doing what I'm doing, and session beers allow me to do that.
Oh, 100%. They're great for the lake, especially when it's really hot outside. No one wants to be drinking a 12% imperial porter sitting in the lake.
Yep.
But
all right, session. So we're both sessions. Again, high ABVs have their place.
It does depend on style, though, too, because I typically like to drink beer anywhere between 5 and 6% ABV. That's kind of where I like my beers. But you look at the IPAs and everything like that. I typically like an IPA between 6 and 7%. I think is the sweet spot for me. So it kind of changes by style. Because would I want a 7% Hefeweizen? Not really.
No, you're right. That would seem weird.
Yeah, I want my Hefeweizen between 4.5% and 5.5%, somewhere in there, maybe a little higher, but not crazy. So it definitely depends on the style. And some styles lend way better to imperial than others. You got your
darker beers. For sure.
You got your porters, your stouts, your IPAs. Anytime you kind of get into the whole bourbon barrel aspect of things, that typically bumps the ABV up. But I mean, have you ever heard of an imperial Kolsch?
Or an imperial lager?
Yeah, right.
That would be fun.
I'm actually curious.
Now we have a goal. That's what we're brewing.
Well, I brought up Kolsch, and Kolsch is typically more of a table beer.
It is.
That's like 3.5%, 4% if you're doing it traditionally.
I brewed a Kolsch once. I didn't like it.
I wonder if they do make an imperial.
Oh, of course, somebody's going to do it.
Oh, that's insane.
There's too many breweries out there these days to not do it.
I don't know if I'll be able to pull it up. I'm not getting great service here, but it's okay. What is this? Altstat Brewery.
Okay.
Kolsch. Where's the ABV on this? Because that would be super interesting. It doesn't say. What ABV? Oh, it doesn't say. Everything's blank. That sucks.
We'll have to look it up later.
Yeah, we'll look it up later.
All right. Favorite food pairing with beer?
Ooh, that's a great question.
I know. I'm full of them.
I'm going to go pretty standard on this.
All right. Don't take my answer.
I think pizza's really solid.
Pizza's always a good choice.
Burgers, solid.
Your standard American bar food kind of thing.
Kinda.
Yeah, mine's definitely a chicken wing.
Chicken wings, not bad.
I mean, other than the fact that it's hard to drink a beer while you're eating chicken wings because they're messy.
Yeah, you get shit all over your can and stuff.
But I like a good chicken wing on the beer.
Again, too, you gotta pair it with the food. That's a thing too.
It's true. It is. I probably wouldn't drink an imperial stout with chicken wings.
Probably not.
I'm going a Coors Banquet or something like that if I'm having chicken wings.
Sure, something lighter, something a little flavorful, but not crazy.
All right, final beer question.
All right.
Your favorite place to drink a beer?
Ooh, that's a really hard question.
I got mine right off the bat. I got 2, but I got one that just really stands out in my mind.
See, the thing is, I've been to a lot of breweries, and I do think that the atmosphere of the establishment that you're in plays a factor into how much you enjoy the beer.
Certainly.
I'm going to go the lake, though.
The lake? Okay, that was my second choice. The lake, I just love sitting on the boat, listening to music, having a beer while the kid jumps in the lake. There's nothing better than that to me.
No, it's relaxing. It's perfect.
In a similar vein, my probably number one favorite place to drink a beer is just on my back porch.
Yeah.
I just like sitting on the back porch on a good sunny day. Not too hot, not too cold. Just a good, nice 70, 75 degree day. Sun's shining. Just sitting on the back porch, listening to music.
So the way you set that question up, I was ready to hit a softball out of the park, and I didn't do that because I should have been like 1907 Brewing Company,
of course,
in Morristown, Tennessee.
Listen, I love 1907. How was trivia last night with the first floor finally back open?
Yeah,
hallelujah!
Big deal, man. It was a lot of fun. Good turnout.
Yeah.
Everybody was totally stoked to be back downstairs.
Nice.
The staff, the bartenders, the owners, the patrons, everybody there had a great time.
I almost came by. I was downtown. Getting a tattoo yesterday, so I almost came by, but I needed to get home and get the boy to bed.
Sure.
So yeah, if you don't know, Tyler is our local trivia host at 1907 Brewing Company on Wednesday nights. So come out on Wednesday, and you can play some trivia. 5 rounds of trivia, 10 questions each, and you have some great beer.
Yeah, you said at the beginning of the episode, like, come out to Gatlinburg on Wednesday night. You don't got shit going on a Wednesday, and I'm like, what are you fucking talking about?
I have a kid these days, so it makes it much harder. We used to go to trivia every single week. We never missed, but once the kids started kindergarten, it makes it a lot harder.
I will say, the Gatlinburg beer competition is on a Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I will not be doing trivia that Wednesday, but we have a substitute trivia master.
Is it Bill?
It is Bill West.
Nice. I love Bill.
Bill West is eventually going to be on the podcast. He is phenomenal. He is the guitarist in the Mickey Norwood band. And he has such a awesome personality.
And Bill's got his own podcast too, right?
Bill's got his own podcast.
Check it out.
Yep.
Fact Around and Find Out. Is
Fact
that it?
Around and Find Out.
Yeah.
Yep. He's an awesome guy. We'll get him on the podcast here shortly, hopefully. But
all right, I think that concludes our beer. So yes, Marzen for me, Hefe for you.
Hefe for me.
Pick a second, real quick, before we go.
Probably Hazy IPA.
Hazy IPA. As cliche as that is, I'm probably right there with you. I love a good hazy IPA.
There's so much.
You can do so much with it.
There's so much variation in that style, and you can really.
So you like a hazy over a West Coast?
I haven't really had a West Coast that I loved.
I would agree.
I can get into the American IPAs, but the West Coast IPAs, I'm not a huge fan of. No.
All right, fair. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us on episode 12 of Lagers and Loudmouths. Yes.
We got to do our.
Hot damn! We got hot takes. I'm ready to go.
You got a hot date or something, man? You're looking to get the hell out of here.
I am the hot date. It's my I got to call my prostitute and tell her I'm going to be 20 minutes late. All right, yeah. Hot take of the week. I forgot before we do that. So will you give me your hot take of the week?
Yeah, my hot take of the week is save for your future.
You know. Kind of pisses me off because when I was thinking about my hot take earlier, I was one of my thoughts was tell the people to start investing early.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was going with. I'm not going to go down a giant rabbit hole, but I'm not telling you to be a financial expert or an economist or anything like that.
It's not hard, guys.
No.
Go out there, just start putting $100 a month, $200 a month into a basic ETF that tracks the S&P, and you will be set in 40 years. I promise. It's that easy.
Yep, S&P 500, NASDAQ. If your company offers a 401k, enroll in that. If they have a match,
stock options, enroll in that. Yeah, 100%. That's my other favorite thing to talk about is money.
Save for your future because no one else is going to do it for you.
Nope. All right, so that's my hot take of the week then, or your hot take of the week. My hot take of the week is... What is my hot take?
Wow, you seem really unprepared.
I was 100% not ready for this. Sausage is better than bacon.
Ooh, I'll fight you on that, but I'm not going to get into it.
That's my sausage is better. I like sausage over bacon.
Well, it's a free country, man. You can think whatever you want, no matter how wrong it is.
That's all right. So yeah, sausage is better than bacon. Fight me. All right, sorry. It was a poor hot take for this week. I will do better next time. So yeah. All right, guys. Thanks. Give us your opinions on prostitution. Should it be legalized and regulated? And again, we are 100% meaning in a consensual relationship between two adults. Should it be legal? Opinions. Again, we don't care if you disagree with us. We like when you disagree with us. That's fine by us. And then tell us, what is your favorite beer style? Why is it your favorite?
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. We'll be back in a couple weeks with episode 13.
We may have a guest on the next one too.
Yep. Keep in tune for that, and we will see you guys later.
Thank you for tuning in to Lagers and Loudmouths. Be sure to never miss an episode by subscribing to us on your favorite podcast streaming service. If you would like to provide feedback or suggest a topic for a future episode, please reach out to us at lagersandloudmouths@gmail.com.